Tuesday, June 18th, 2024, regular school board meeting. And this is the meeting that we do take action on, and we want the public to know, and all of you that are here to know, that we, as a board, have had many meetings about the topics we are going to be discussed through our regular committee meetings that meet, our HR and business, our policy committee, our committee of the whole meeting. So you'll hear updates from those meetings, and then we will have a variety of action items that we vote on only at certain meetings, like our regular monthly meeting. Want to thank those of you that have stayed from our listening session, and just again, we love hearing from our community. We love hearing from our students, our staff, our parents, our family members, and just folks who have things to say to support our public schools. So thank you, and thank you for staying to learn more, because this is really also where the work of the board happens, and you'll hear the work that the board has been doing in the last month, and our staff, our administrative and our district staff in many ways as well, through the variety of committee work that we do. So again, thank you. Going to call to order then, and we'll start with roll call.
Member Banks.
Here.
Member Dirk Eater.
Present.
Member Loeffler-Kemp.
Here.
Member Lofald.
Here.
Member Mikesell.
Here.
Member Williams.
Here.
I am here. Superintendent Magus.
Present.
Assistant Superintendent Bonds.
Present.
Deputy Clerk Zunich. Here. Executive Director of HR and Operations Severance.
Present.
Board Secretary Paquette.
Here.
Student Representative from Denfeld Miller.
Here.
And our student representative from East Petronas.
Here.
Great, thank you, Clerk Sadowski. So we don't often have board members joining by Zoom, but we can by state statute. We are able to, when members have other commitments, they can join our regular voting meeting by Zoom. So we thank them for taking the time in the other hats that they're wearing right now. But it does mean that we need to, anything we vote on, we need to do a roll call vote. So Member Sadowski, or Clerk Sadowski, will help walk us through that, as we've done in the past. And for the community, just know that I think this is the first time we've had two members on Zoom, and so I am going to ask my school board colleagues here to help me to make sure if they're raising their hand or they want to talk, I might not catch it. And so we're working as a team tonight, folks. And we just appreciate Chair Lofold and Kelly Derrickator joining us by Zoom and being a part of our important work that we do at our regular school board meetings. So the next item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. So we invite you all to share in doing the Pledge of Allegiance with us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. So the first item on our agenda that I'll need a motion on is the approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
So moved by Member Michaelsell. Is there a second? Seconded by Sarah, or Stephanie Williams, sorry. Sarah Michaelsell, Stephanie Williams, thank you. Is there any discussion on the agenda? Okay, we'll do a roll call vote on that.
Member Banks.
Yes.
Member Dirk Eater.
Yes.
Member Loeffler-Kemp.
Yes?
Member Lofald.
Yes.
Member Mikesell.
Yes.
I vote yes. And Member Williams? Yes. Perfect.
Great, thank you, and we have a quorum. The next item on our agenda that we all just so enjoy is the school and community recognition, and be turning it over to Assistant Superintendent Anthony Bonds to share with us the recognition.
Thank you, and good evening, everyone. Next to me, I have Yupong Chen. Welcome. So, members of the board, tonight I would like to recognize one of our amazing, incredible students, Yupong Chen. Yupong, an outgoing 8th grader at Ordini, started his spelling bee journey when he participated in the district spelling bee where he came in 2nd place. In February, he competed at the regional spelling bee, which was held in Mountain Iron, where he walked away with the 3rd region championship. It's not over. Not only did he walk away with the championship, he punched a ticket to the National Spelling Bee, which was held in D.C. Yupong was one of 245 spellers at the National Spelling Bee, and he made it to the quarterfinals. We want to congratulate him on all of his efforts and representing the district, and just wish him well. Congratulations. Want to take a picture quickly?
Stand over here and face it. This one. One, two, three.
You want to come up here? Come up here. You want to share anything? You want to share about your journey or anything you would like to share?
I would like to thank my school teachers for helping me get to where I am, and my family and friends for encouraging me to study and work hard to get to the nationals. A lot of time studying was spent. So I think it really paid off that I managed to make it to quarterfinals, placing 60th place out of 245 other kids. So it's amazing.
Thank you. And I'm pretty sure the board would like to congratulate you as well.
Wow, congratulations. I know Chair Lofold usually says if any board members want to add anything, this would be the time to celebrate Yupong. I'm looking to see if anyone would like to say something.
I just want to say,
Thanks.
again, congratulations on that awesome achievement. And I remember the spelling bee days. And I was in the spelling bee and I came in 2nd place. So I'm excited for you in your future. Thank you.
Any other members want to add? Okay. Well, we celebrate you and we look forward to your only in 8th grade. So you probably will be doing this again, maybe? Yes? It was such a great experience, we hope. And maybe not, just take the summer off. Thank you so much. Okay, the next item on our regular school board meeting is the report of our superintendent. And so the superintendent will kind of facilitate this section where he does his report, as well as our 2 student reps from East and Denfeld do the reports. So I'll turn it over to Superintendent John Magus.
Thank you very much. And I did change my slides around so that I could talk about solar a little earlier. But when it comes to my presentation, the superintendent report, really one of the most important things that we talk about are our student reports. And first of all, I wanted to share our mission, vision, and core values, which you see displayed here. You'll also see it displayed on our screens. And I'll talk a little bit about it in my report with an activity we did with our leadership team while we were here. So our topics for tonight, we're starting with our student reports. And we have reports, looks like we have representatives from East and Denfeld today. And Representative Petronas or Representative Miller, can't remember who went first last month, but is there a preference who shares first?
I will ask if Larissa would like to go first today, just because I'm struggling to get onto my computer.
Thank you.
If you're ready.
And as you prepare, I just want to say how impressed I am with our students, whether it was the our spelling bee champion, or whether it was the many, many students who are part of our environmental club, our climate club that came forward and did so many things to promote what we need to do to make sure that our earth is sustainable into the future. I couldn't be more proud of our students tonight. So let's hear it from Representative Miller from Denfeld High School.
Okay, so school is over officially, so it's into summer right now. I'm just gonna say some things that's been happening. So Soraya has been working on getting like Ethel Ray books in the library, which I think is very amazing, especially for the library and for Duluth. Duluth's history is really important to learn in the schools. Summer school officially started as well. Which means that Dash has started too. I'm gonna do a little list of what we've been doing so far. I'm actually working there this summer, and today was my first day, and it was really good. The first week of programs is going to be Get to Know the World Around You Week. The end of the field trip for this week will be at Sky Zone. Next week is Building Bridges Week, Equity, and the field trip for this week is fishing with the Parks and Recs at St. Louis River. A few things that are going to be involved within Monday through Thursday this month includes ballroom dancing, yoga, field days with NYS, Russian language, D&D, music, no bake baking, Boys and Girls Club career launch, Men as Peacemakers and Gratitude Group, and the Minneapolis English teacher named Minnesota Teacher of the Year 2024 will be speaking on June 27th in Dash. So I think that's a great accomplishment for Dash this year. The sports are taking the opportunities for summer workouts with amazing resources at the school during summer. An example is like the girls basketball morning workouts, and the league started June 10th. The girls basketball camp is June 17th to 21st for grades 4th and 8th grades, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Tomorrow is Juneteenth, so that's my favorite holiday, so hopefully you guys all celebrate. The school will be closed for this holiday, and BSA will be tabling at this event. It's 3 to 7 with NAACP. And of course, we all know that the seniors have graduated. I'm very glad that I got to see all of my friends walk across the stage, and it was a great event that was put on. National Honor Society was also volunteering during this and helped a lot with the final product. Feedback from the African American Heritage Banquet, it went very well, and I can see that there's a great community within our schools. Excited to see what the next years come and making sure that we reach contact with more like the East students and just more students in general. It's really important to create a large, good community of amazing Black graduates. The United Way volunteering will be coming to Denfeld to help and organize and amp the Hunter Hut on the 26th, and we thank them for that. They're going to come in and just volunteer and help make our Hunter Hut better than it can be. Some updates just with me is I spoke at the Clayton McGee Jackson Memorial. It went very well, and I'm very glad that I could go back this year and be able to perform. The powwow went great. I got to see some members there. I volunteered. It was a great event, and glad to see the more tradition-wise, because it started last year, I believe so. So I'm very excited to see that. And then also something that was brought up was the Miss Matson concern is still going on with the students, and they're still very engaged for her being replaced and very concerned, I would say. And we wish to have more voice on this topic. That's what I believe from the students. And to kind of close it off, Costa Rica's last day today. I've seen a lot of photos of the trip of students going there, and I think they're having a great time. I've heard some great feedback from that. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Miller and Representative Petronas.
All right, I apologize for the technical difficulties. I promise to go first next time. Sorry, Larissa. So commencement was held at the deck earlier this month. 370 graduating seniors walked the stage. Afterwards, many of them attended the all-night grad party, which I've heard is a very fun event. There's lots of games and activities and even a hypnotist. This year's senior class was a fantastic group, many of them with outstanding accomplishments in both academics and activities. Several of these students plan to continue their education along with sports, and they signed their letters of intent to colleges in late May at East NCAA College signing event. We had athletes sign for golf, hockey, soccer, diving, volleyball, and several in track and Nordic ski. Speaking of track, the team sent several members to the state competition, 3 relay teams and 4 individuals. Ben Westholm in the mile, Rowan Bixler 2 mile, Lydia Eaton in the 800 meter, and Ava Revoir in the 400. Additionally, Debate has a few members of their team currently in Iowa for nationals. I'm eager to hear more about how that goes for them. Currently, 13 East students are staying in Germany as part of an exchange program under the German-American Partnership Organization. Earlier in the fall, students from our sister school in Germany stayed with East families for 2 weeks, and now East students are doing their 2 weeks with some families in Germany. Lastly, students in Climate Club have been working towards getting solar panels in our district. During the listening session prior to this meeting, we got to hear from the passionate, well-researched members of this club. They started a petition, and I think it's very clear that the efforts that these students have is very representative of how driven East students are for creating change in our schools. And that's all I have for this month. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And again, your reports are always very much appreciated. It gives us a glimpse into the lives of our students. And I too was very impressed with the graduations that we held at all of our sites. I think that watching the students walk across the stage is one of my favorite moments of the year. And really, it's a lot of times we think about the high schools when we see the graduation, but it's not about just the high schools. It's about the middle schools that prepared the students for high schools. It's about the elementary schools and the preschool and early childhood programming, as well as the support from family and community members. So really, the high school graduation is not just about the high schools. It certainly is an important celebration for the high school, but it's really a community celebration and a celebration of the work that the board does. So thank you for sharing your reports tonight. So as far as my topics for tonight, I started with our student reports. I changed things around a little bit so that we have our couple of facilities updates, one on solar and the other on some Lowell traffic issues. Some board members, you've been involved in those conversations, and we had representatives there as well. A little bit on the Juneteenth holiday tomorrow, as we heard from our student representatives, as well as some leadership updates and some budget updates. So the back button is not as good as the forward button when you're going forward. But the solar projects, we heard a lot about the solar projects, and I think that it's really important to note that we have been staying abreast of this issue as a board and as a district for many years, and that's thanks in part to the work that the Climate Club has done, and it's also thanks in part to the dedication of our school board and some of the administrative team that has been working on this as well. There are significant changes as of late in the legislation. Prior to the past year or so, the smaller school districts would receive about 70% state funding and fund the projects with 30% of district funds. Larger school districts like ours were penalized to some extent for being bigger school districts, where we would receive 30% from the state with 70% district funding. So there was inequity there. And we worked hard to lobby for change. Our students had lobbied as well, and we had it as part of our legislative platform that the board put forward. That is changed where it's balanced now, by and large. But we do need to consider the financial impacts, and that's something we often consider. Also, the metro area, the Xcel Energy area, funded solar projects differently than our area. So that was something that's different, that is working to change. And we're working really hard, and I know I'm presenting to the board, but it's hard not to look at our students. We are very much involved in these projects. Executive Director Severance just returned from some time out of the district, and as soon as she got here, we worked with our facilities manager, Brian Brown, to look at the different projects that we could possibly consider, and there's really a couple of main projects that we're looking at. One would be potentially either a solar canopy or rooftop project here above this building. Part of the reason why we are choosing this building is not because we're trying to focus on district office first by any means, but it's the newest roof. And so from a financial impact, that's part of what we have to consider. But we're also considering possible solar garden or an array, like as was considered at Lincoln Park Middle School. So we're looking at all those different opportunities. And we do have a community group that has worked very closely with us that has offered to do some of the writing of the grant and work of the grant. We also have curriculum ready if we're able to move forward. But really it's about assessing the situation. And we have to really do some deeper analysis to see what would it mean to us and what would be the financial impact to the district. And that would be something that we'd be bringing forward to the board for consideration as well. If it is viable, then we certainly want to move forward. It's something I believe in. Something all of us feel strongly about. If you look at the news today with record heat index breaking across the entire country, you see strange weather events like we've been having. I think it's imperative that larger entities like school districts do all that they can to consider how to invest in sustainable energy. And at the same time, we are also facing about $7 million in budget reductions. So we have to consider what investment will mean in the scope of that and what we can potentially gain from the grants. I know that there's a lot of enthusiastic conversation around it, and I want to make sure that we harness that energy, and we have to look at what the actual results will be from that. I think it's important for us as well to work on that application process and move forward with the examination. So that's what we'll be looking at in the coming weeks. So we will be sharing with the community, sharing with the board more as we learn more. Another facilities update, and that's the traffic situation at Lowell. As you might remember, there was an accident a couple of weeks ago where there was a school bus that was hit by a car, and there were injuries sustained. Thankfully, none were life-threatening, but that has renewed the interest that we've all had over time to make sure that the traffic issues are addressed there. We have worked very closely with the county, and as you know, as board members, we've had multiple presentations about the partnership as we've tried a wide variety of different things. We changed the location of pickup and drop-off. We changed the way traffic would exit and enter at Lowell. We put in what was called the pork chop, which is a kind of a traffic term, but it's basically cement construction that would allow traffic only to flow in a certain area. We had a mocking up of a pork chop, and we used that to see what would happen with the traffic. And we still are facing traffic issues at Lowell, and the safety of our students is imperative. We also want to be good neighbors to the community around us. There were community concerns too about the impact on some of the developments in the area. And so we worked with St. Louis County to have a meeting. It was held last night, and we had board member representation. Member Mikesell, Member Loeffler-Kemp, and Member Sadowski attended. We had to limit it to that number of people because any more would have been a quorum of board. But all board members were very interested in that work. So we had an input session. We shared about the history of all the work that's been done there. And then we took input and we listened to the community. And I think it's important I had a conversation about this just today. When we listen to input, it doesn't necessarily mean that we can agree and say yes to every suggestion that's made, because many times there's input from opposing sides, and we have to listen and really thoroughly consider input on the subject and consider what we do next. We're also working closely in partnership. It's not just a Duluth Public Schools piece. We have to think about the neighborhood and who's involved. We have to think about the partnership with the county. And even if the county determined that they wanted to make some of the changes, they would have to apply for those changes with the state. So we are examining it in its entirety, and we want to make sure that we're meeting with the county officials likely next week so that we can go over the input that we received. Brian Brown, our facilities manager, is tallying up the comments from the comment cards and looking at the feedback. And one of the final comments of input was there is probably no silver bullet to the Lowell traffic situation. It's probably going to involve multiple things. One thing will not fix it all, but we have to look at how can we make the changes with everything involved. On a positive note, tomorrow is our celebration of the Juneteenth holiday, and Duluth Public Schools will be closed as we observe the holiday. This is actually the second year that we formally recognize the holiday, and a lot of school districts in the state recognized it starting last year because it was a state mandate to do so. But our board was forward-thinking, and we actually voted to change it into an official holiday prior to the state saying that school districts must. So I think that it's important that we're recognizing the holiday. And I know many of the school board members and staff will be celebrating tomorrow. There's a big celebration at the Central Hillside Park across from where Historic Old Central was. And I'll be running the grills with John Goldfine from, we're getting there around 1 p.m. and finishing about 7 p.m. So as long as the food holds out, please come on down and grab a bite to eat. We also have a recruiting table there. We're always looking for means of diversifying our workforce, so we have representation there and representation from student groups as well. So please consider joining us at the Juneteenth celebration. Some significant leadership updates. Summertime, I know sometimes, I mentioned in a newsletter, a lot of times people ask me like, oh, are you done for the summer now? And the pace does change a little bit, but it's also a time that we really lean into the work that we need to do to make sure that we're prepared for the coming year. We've had multiple meetings, and we're having additional meetings moving forward. We had our Duluth leadership team meeting for all administrators. That was last Monday. And then that was followed by a Center for Educational Leadership principal training. The Center for Educational Leadership is out of the University of Washington, and it focuses on equity-based instructional leadership in our schools. We know that our principals make a big difference, and if we invest in training our principals so that they can support our teachers well around that important work, it's going to make a difference in outcomes for kids. We're also taking part in a number of hiring activities. We completed the hiring for the principal positions of Laura MacArthur and Piedmont Elementary, and we shared that information today publicly, but we'll be taking forward the contracts to the board in July. But looking at hiring Carrie Thompson and Katie Britton, they come to us with experience from the Superior School District, and they will be taking those two school sites with Ms. Thompson at Laura MacArthur and with Dr. Britton, who used to be in the district as a teacher leader, returning to us and serving at Piedmont. We're also interviewing for the Director of Continuous Improvement and Assessment position, as well as staff development and several other positions. So those are important things that we're doing to make sure that we have our leadership position shored up. As far as the agenda for that leadership retreat, and by retreat, retreat is a little loose. Sometimes I think of like trust falls and making s'mores at a retreat, but that's not what our retreats are. It's more of a work session where we really work on a lot of important things that need to be focused on as a school district. So we did have a culture and relationship building activity, and I actually left it up. It's the values tree there, and it was an activity we did with our team. The roots of the values tree are our 5 core values that we have as a district. The trunk of the tree is actually the mission of the district, and the arms of the tree are the 3 strategic directions we have, with supporting every student, advancing equity, and improving systems. And so really, when we looked at the roots of the tree, we were looking at what was resonating with our leaders as far as why they felt the importance of that work. During the portion with the core, they were focusing on what were things that they were focusing on throughout the past year that they made a difference with, that focused and was deeply related to the core of our work. And then we focused on celebrations. What were the things that we celebrated in the areas of supporting every student, advancing equity, and improving systems? And so that was really, I think it showed a good through line for what we're doing as a district, and it was really well received by our team. We also focused on our strategic roadmap and the priorities for the coming year. We had some updates on budget and next steps as a district, and then after that we were focusing on culturally and linguistically responsive teaching as a training for our principals. So what are we focusing on for next year? Under supporting every student, we're really trying to limit how many things we focus on, because really you can be a mile wide and an inch deep and not make a difference, or the old saying of if everything's important, nothing's important. So we're really focusing on 3 areas: core instruction, the PBIS pyramid model, which is our behavioral system, and then professional learning communities. So really thinking about what are we doing to make sure that we have teacher clarity with aligned standards and intentional teaching. What are we doing related to culturally and linguistically responsive teaching? And then also, then under our pyramid model, this was the first year that our district had district-wide PBIS and pyramid model. Every district I've been part of, there are pockets of PBIS, and most of the schools are doing it, but I've really thought it was important that we have PBIS as a universal practice, because it's shown to decrease disproportionality and increase positive behavioral outcomes for our kids. And then with our professional learning communities, we know that PLCs can be a powerful engine. Basically, that's where teachers get together and they talk about the outcomes for kids, talk about what they've taught, and work on improving there. So those are 3 areas under supporting every student. Under advancing equity, as you know, we are focusing on development of our education equity framework, and we're also focusing on our community engagement framework, and you see details there under what we're doing with tribal consultation, concurrence, non-concurrence, the framework development, the unity and the community event. All of those things are truly important for us as we focus on advancing equity. And then the main areas under improving systems. We know that we're focused deeply on our budget reduction and reallocation process. That's the work that Executive Director Zunich is leading. And then recruiting and retaining, as we've talked about. And then really thinking about our safety needs. We're focusing on our facilities improvements, as well as our safety and emergency preparedness planning. Those are the areas under improving systems. So really trying to keep it tight to fewer things. And we talked about our progress monitoring calendar at our last committee of the whole. We would develop the progress monitoring topics. Many of them would be things that you're seeing on this list, so that you would get regular updates about, you said you're going to focus on these things, you said you're going to go deep with them. Our intention would be to bring them to you on a regular basis so you can see how we've implemented the changes in those areas. For our next steps, we are finalizing and sharing our meeting structure for the coming year. We are developing action cards for each of those priority areas that you just saw, and we'll be sharing more details in April with both the administrative team and with the board. And then we have August retreat or work session dates with our administrative team on the 13th, 14th, and 15th. And those are things that were part of the new contracts that we've negotiated with our leadership team. Some budgeting reminders. Again, we have 2 phases to our budget work that we've talked about. One is about a $2.3 million reduction in use of the fund balance. And then phase 2 would be our comprehensive process that will follow for the 25-26 budget, which would be where we're having a greater number of reductions. We have had several media requests over the course of the past couple of days related to budget, so we've conducted a number of different television interviews that you'll probably see in the next day or so. I also send those as media links in my update to the board. And then with the budgeting next steps, we're asking for approval of the 24-25 budget tonight. And then also our process and timeline for identifying the 25-26 budget reductions and reallocations, it's nearly complete. We've shared it internally. But before we're ready for prime time, our plan has been all along that we would share it in July. So that will be shared with the board in detail publicly in July. We'd be glad to share more behind the scenes if you want to see what we have thus far as a draft. And then we're also thinking that it would be very, and we've mentioned this before, very helpful to have a budget retreat for the board in August so that you'd have an opportunity where we could go deeper with that information and really have opportunity for more comment. The additional steps in that process, that will take place through the fall with recommendations coming to the board prior to second semester. That's our intention, is that we will have the recommendations for reduction and reallocation before the end of January, which is the end of the first semester. And that would allow us to really think about what we're doing with staffing for next year. And so if there's any significant changes in staffing, it would allow us to meet the staffing need cycles, and it would also allow individuals, if there was a need to have reduction in force, which is quite likely, that those individuals would have plenty of time to begin to seek other positions with our support. So that is my superintendent's report for this month. I'm sure there's, I did have a slide previously on our booster clubs, and when I was shuffling our slides, I inadvertently seemed to have deleted it, but we had a booster club meeting last week. We had expressed to the board previously that we had new guidelines for booster clubs, and we had a really robust meeting led by our athletic directors and supported by Assistant Superintendent Bonds and Executive Director Zunich, where they laid out the new criteria and guidelines for our booster clubs as we begin to shore things up and tighten things up as part of our systems improvements. So that was another piece that I wanted to inform the board on.
Great. Thank you. Very full update, as well as thank you, Representative Miller and Representative Petronas, for even though it's summer, there's so much going on, and you guys captured it well. Board members, do you have any questions for the students or Superintendent Magus? Questions or comments?
This may be a first.
Well, I guess I'll just add one thing, because why?
Or it may not be.
No, I just wanted to thank you for including some of the updates around the solar work that's done. Just as someone who's been on the board since Climate Club invited us out and spoke with us and has came in front of the board, as well as some of us, when this grant first became available, are at our NSBA January school board conference. They did have workshops on it. And that particular year, I think all of the board members attended at least one of the couple workshops that took place, so that we were well informed as well, and then had a presentation on it as well from administrators and that. And so, you know, it's appreciate the initial presentation that you did tonight, but did really want to reiterate this is something that has been in front of us, and we've all been learning on over the last couple years as well, and talking with other school districts that have put solar projects up, and the difference between small schools and larger school districts. And so I think we've worked to stay informed. Certainly I was taking notes when the students and community members talked, and I'm going to do some more homework myself, like I imagine the rest of you are too, but I appreciate you touching on it and the work so far that's been done with our facilities and with Teresa. severance as well, to look at continuing to consider what options may be for a district our size. So just wanted to thank you, and again, thank the students that are here. I just wanted to mention our representative from ALC wasn't able to be here tonight, but I just wanted the public to know we also have a student rep from ALC as well. So, okay, so I started it. Board members, does anyone want to? Yep, I knew if I started it, someone would follow suit. So, Member Michael.
I'm just curious, I see in your facility update for solar that you'll be doing some follow-up meetings and some further analysis. When you have those meetings and we talk about the potential next steps, who will those meetings be with? And will it be reporting to the board, or is it the facilities, talking with our organizations that are offering to partner?
Sure. Our intention would be that it would be the group with which we've been doing some partnership that we've met with several times already about the grant. They've offered to do some of the analysis and some of the work in supporting us in the grant. So there would be that, but also representatives from administration, thinking about executive director severance, thinking about our executive director Zunich from a financial perspective, myself, potentially assistant superintendent Bonds, especially facilities manager Brian Brown. Those would be some of the key people that we would have involved, but we would also make sure that the board would be kept abreast of the work that we're doing as well. I think it's important for us to be reporting back on a regular basis, and I think using my weekly board reports would be one way that we could do that. I know we don't have a committee of the whole meeting in July, but I would see that it could potentially be a topic for the early August board meeting, as well as potentially a topic for my superintendent's report in July as well. So we would also be willing to have individual meetings as we learn more. I think I would say that things look more hopeful than they have in the past, but I'm also very careful that I don't want to overpromise and underdeliver before we've truly done the analysis, because given our financial circumstances, we're willing to roll up our sleeves and do work around this, and I think that we would be willing to take some calculated investment in, but we also have to be a little bit cautious about how much we're able to invest, given that we're making significant reductions in other areas.
Thank you.
I would also just add, and I believe Chair Lofold sent to everybody the legislative platform for this year, where we did have as one of our platform items to lobby on solar funding with this grant, which we have, I think, the last two legislative platforms, because we recognize that the way it was initially funded was not of benefit to a district our size. And so I think we've been tracking it, and we've been advocating as well to help us really think about doing this in a way that makes sense for our district through our lobby efforts as well.
Jill has her hand raised.
Thank you. So Chair Lofold?
Again, I appreciate the updates of our superintendent and especially presentations in our listening session, but I just have a question, and I know that we have invested time and study as a board for the last 4 years on solar. It's been like Member Loeffler-Kemp says on our legislative platform. So in reading the information sent to us by some of our student groups, and then knowing the last grant cycle that was available, I understand that our administrative team and the departments that Superintendent Magus just highlighted for Member Michael, but is the grant cycle, is there more than one grant cycle? Because in some emails, and this was a confusing point by the presentations we were presented, is the grant cycle grant done July 31st? So if we don't, or is, maybe this is what board member Michael, is the next step to at least apply? Because I think I heard in presentations tonight that, if you apply, it opens up a door to do a year-long desire of what you want to do. I don't want to get into a big discussion. I know you haven't had time to think about that with just your staff, but just a question about that grant date, July 30th.
Yes, thank you. My understanding is, and what I see in the packet as well, is that there's a readiness assessment, and we've already been working with a group. We met with a group weeks ago, months ago, actually, and we've had ongoing conversations for quite a while with the group. But the readiness assessment takes place between July 1st and July 31st. It is a little bit of a challenging time for us to do that work, but we will make sure that we do our best to prioritize it, because I think it's important that we, at the very least, assess our capacity, because it's important for us to, I mean, as we look at the rain fiercely come down, and it's important for us to consider what climate change means to us as a school district. So we will be looking at that and working with our climate group. There are various climate groups that we've heard from tonight. I think that's part of, like, as you mentioned with the public comment, it was difficult to determine who was from which group, because there are multiple like-minded groups and also some overlapping membership of different people from different groups. So I think it's important for us to examine that readiness process in July. And the final grant application is due at the end of November. So that gives us some time. We analyze first to see what is the impact. Is it feasible from a financial perspective? Is it feasible from a facilities perspective? What would it take to get done? And then we have our grant application due at the end of November.
Clerk Sadowski?
Regarding the fiscal analysis piece, I think something that would be really helpful for me and maybe other board members is to kind of see, what is our upfront cost that the district would have, especially given that we're going into budget cuts. I think it's super important to know that, but then also what are the gains over the course of 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. I'd like to see what our gains would be compared to that and how long it would take to recoup that money, especially since we're also balancing, like we talked about, climate change and all the other factors that the young people today brought up.
Agreed, and I think that would be something important for us to share. Previously, the math did not work very well in our favor, because it would take 10 to 20 years for us to recoup the money that we would invest. I think that with the increase in the ratio of what we would receive from the state, there's a need for us to re-examine, and that's why we're leaning back into it. We also continue, as we've mentioned, that was part of our lobbying platform. I think it's important for us to continue lobbying really hard for support for this. If it were fully funded, we would have done it already. But even if it was mostly funded, we would have done it already. But we do see some changes now that we need to examine and properly consider, because I'd like us to take advantage of it if we can. And I recognize that seems to be even though we haven't taken a vote on it, it seems to be the will of the board that we do what we can to very fully consider this and move in this direction if possible. And if that were the case, we would be very proud to come forward with a proposal to move in that direction if it's feasible.
We'll look forward then to updates in some of the different ways you suggested. Any other comments or comments? Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you so much. And again, thank you to our student reps for being here this month. The next item on our agenda is our schedule of meetings and events. And am I right there? Yeah, I want to again thank Patty for every week sending out the updated schedule of our meetings and that, and attaching it the way that you do. Want to remind board members then that July 1st begins our new calendar year for our meetings and for the 2024-25 school year, and you've received that document from Patty for the schedule for the full year. And then For July, because a lot of our district staff do vacations and try and get in vacations throughout July, with July 4th holiday there, we do not have any meetings scheduled for next week. We do not have any meetings scheduled for the first week of July. Some years have not done a policy meeting because of the way the July schedules fall, so we do not have a policy or a committee of the whole meeting scheduled for July. So our first meeting of a committee is Tuesday, July 9th, 4:30. It'll be the HR Business Services Committee. And then our regular meeting for the month will be Tuesday, July 23rd. Will be the listening session at 5:30, and then our regular meeting at 6:30. And while it's not on this calendar, last month we did get, or at the Committee of the Whole, we got this flyer, so I'm just holding it up there. Adele, do you see I have it? And reminding folks to be sharing this, reminding the community. There's lots of updates on not only events we're involved with, but like our Unity in the Community event on August 19th, but things going on our Facebook and our website. So I really encourage everyone to stay attuned. Adele does a great job in at putting things up every moment. So we really appreciate it. And I see Superintendent Magnus.
Yes, and this just came to my attention earlier this evening related to some requests for a potential closed session. So we might be, and so this is news to everybody, chairs included, that we might be looking for opportunity for a closed session potentially as soon as next week related to a couple of items that are time sensitive that we want to bring forward. Look
Thank you
forward to
for the
more.
heads up on that. I imagine we will get an email as soon as a date and time or a Google Doc is set. Appreciate that. You made me think of one other thing. I do want to remind folks too, at our July regular meeting, we will be doing a closed session before that with superintendent's evaluation. Is that correct? Is that still on?
Yes, that, it's after the July meeting. Yep, and thank you. And we appreciate the board's understanding and flexibility when things that time-sensitive come up that need attention through closed session, and we'll inform you very shortly.
Miss anything else, or did I miss anything under meetings and events? I think those are the highlights. Okay. Okay, so we're going to move into then the report of our standing committees. And again, most of the items on our standing committees are a part of our consent agenda. We do also have a number of resolutions at the end of the meeting we'll be voting on separately. And we're going to start with the Committee of the Whole, and I'm going to turn it over to Assistant Superintendent Anthony Bonds. And again, the Committee of the Whole, 3-4 hour meetings with so many great topics, so many presenters. We really appreciate all the work you and your team go to bringing forth a lot of information at those meetings. So just thank you ahead of time.
Thank you. And again, I would like to also thank the team for all of their work and efforts to get those presentations ready. They don't hear it enough, so I always want to acknowledge that there's a huge team in the teaching and learning equity team that is responsible for a lot of really good work. So I just want to thank them for everything they do. And there was also other presentations provided by other leaders in the district. So the first presentation was provided by Executive Director Zunich and the Voyager Bus Company. So just really appreciated the information that they provided related to the history of the partnership, as well as the efforts they've been making to improve transportation for our students. Another presentation was provided by Adele Wellens and Shalon Monroe related to family and community engagement. They provided an update related to all of the engagement efforts that have taken place and are underway, as indicated by the Unity and Community event that is being planned for as well. A presentation under the area of supporting every student. We had a couple items. A science curriculum adoption was presented by teacher Aaron Salama, who is a science teacher. He provided information related to the upcoming adoption of a new science textbook. We also had another presentation by Adele Wellens, who is our communication officer. It was related to our student and family handbook. So the student and family handbook was provided, update and information discussions were held or had related to it. It is one of the items that you will see on the consent agenda for approval for tonight. Executive Director Zunich also provided a proposed budget presentation, really thorough presentation related to all our financial situation, and it is also on the consent agenda for discussion and potential approval. And last but not least, there was a presentation related to the progress monitoring calendar. What we wanted to do was provide a year in review of all the topics and discussions that happened during the COW meetings, just to make sure that we reminded the community that we really were strategic in the development of the progress monitoring calendar as it aligns with our strategic plan, making sure that we provide updates related to things that we say we would do. And so that was the full agenda, and I want to thank again the team for everything they did to prepare for those presentations, and thank you, Adele, and others for preparing as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions or comments? Member Sadowski?
Yeah, just one quick comment. Thank you, Adele, for your work on the student handbook, and just really appreciated the discussion that we had at the COW related to, whether we were going to go digital or not, just all of your data around Parent Square. That was just really helpful, and wanted to appreciate your hard work on that.
Any other comments? Okay. Okay, great. Thank you again. And we then will move on to our other committee reports. So HR Business Services Committee, which met on June 11th. And the chair of that committee is Kelly Derrick Eater, and she is going to be giving the report from the screen.
Good evening, everybody from the windswept prairie of North Dakota. So thank you for allowing me this privilege to be able to be here on the big screen, staring over everybody like some creepy figure from Big Brother in 1984. So we will get started today. We had no guest presentations at the HR Business Services meeting, and we moved right into the departmental reports, and we started out with our HR report. Continuing the great trend that we've been seeing over the last couple months, we continue to hire both certified and non-certified staff, filling the important positions for our students. We also this evening will be voting on in the resolution some non-renewal contracts for certified staff. We also, our HR department also attended a job fair with Duluth Career Force on June 5th, where they were able to talk with potential candidates for several of our non-certified positions. We have several non-certified positions available, both in transportation to help with our bus drivers and our bus helpers, and then also for our custodial staff. So we continually search for for people to fulfill those very important positions within our district. Human Resources will be having a Business of the Day event with Duluth Career Force, where they can focus on interviewing and assisting people to apply for those very important non-certified jobs, and that will be happening on August 12th. We've also had our Human Resource staff attend an outdoor mini-series career fair with Career Force of Carleton County. We will also be participating in many other of those mini-series career fairs on July 25th, August 22nd, and September 26th. And in those career fairs, we really focus on promoting non-certified staff positions, very important bus drivers and helpers. As we saw from our committee of the whole meeting where Voyager Bus came in and gave a presentation on the long history that we've had with partnership of Voyager Bus. So we really need those bus drivers and helpers. also maintenance positions, very important paraprofessional positions, and food service workers. And I know Superintendent Magus talked earlier about his attendance at Juneteenth, where we will also be recruiting for people to come in and work in our district so they can see how great it is to see our wonderful kids and students. As far as benefits, the benefits department is processing retirements, calculating healthcare saving plans, and assisting with benefit enrollments for this year's retirees. They're also, the department is also hosting free physical therapy consults for the DSC buildings employees. That happened on June 10th. And all changes and rate updates for open enrollment will take place on July 1st. So employees will see their prices change in their June paychecks. You can also refer to our agenda to look to see what teaching positions and non-certified positions that we currently have available. We have posted for this school year 24-25, we have posted 78 non-certified openings, and as of June 11th, I'm sure those numbers have changed. We have filled 57 of those positions. As far as contract negotiations, we will be, I just want to make sure I'm looking at the right thing. We have a tentative agreement with our Educated Directors Association that will be brought to the board this month. And as we heard earlier in the listening session, we are continuing to negotiate with our clerical units, and then we're also continuing to negotiate with our National Conference of Firemen and Oilers. We have dates set for negotiations for the firemen and oilers and also the clerical units, and we are still waiting to work with our district-wide Instructional Administration Association. They have not requested, as of June 11th, they had not requested negotiations yet. So that was our HR monthly departmental report for the month of June. We moved on to our business services. We welcomed a new employee to the district, Phil Paulson. Correct, Executive Director Zunich?
You are
Is that the
correct.
Mars coordinator?
Yes, Philip Paulson, yes.
Yes, okay, good. I just wanted to make sure I did that correctly. So we're glad to have Phil Paulson. He's very qualified to work in this Mars coordinator position. We wrapped up at the end of the year with a total of 7,988.25 for our enrollment. And if I'm correct, we will not be looking at any other enrollment numbers until October. So those were our enrollment numbers for this year. Moving on to our child nutrition departmental report, we are so excited that we are, again this year, we'll be offering breakfast and lunch for our students at several schools across the district. I've seen great announcements and PR all across our social media platforms. So if you're wondering where your kid can get breakfast and lunch, please just refer to our Facebook page or any other of our social media, or the Great Parent Square app as well, to find out where you can access those lunches. We did see a fresh fruit and vegetable grant from Myers-Wilkins for the school year of 2024-2025. That grant is in the amount of $21,692, and this program was developed to allow students a sampling of fresh fruits and vegetables that they might not get at home. So this is great. This grant was accomplished through a partnership with our community liaison at Myers-Wilkins, and we are thrilled for that. The health department reviews are now completed for the school year of 2023-2024. Each year, schools have certified food protection managers, and they receive 2 reviews a year from the MDH Sanitarian. All of our reviews passed satisfactorily with no follow-up visits needed. So I want to take a minute and thank our nutrition staff. They do a great job for our kids, making sure that they're served healthy and safe meals. So thank you to all of our staff. And per health department regulations, reviews are available at the school sites to view and also online on the child nutrition page at the district website. So that is our child nutrition departmental report, probably one of my favorite reports. Let's see here. Okay, moving on to our facilities report. We had a great facilities report. In the past month, facilities maintenance crew have completed 301 work orders, and they're currently working on 243. They'll be busy working this summer on several different projects. Smith, Bell, and Clock Tower finished the timing and gearing installation on the Denfeld Clock Tower, but I believe, as we heard at the HR Business Services meeting, the Denfeld clock is still set to Eastern Time. Is that true?
You're breaking up, Member Dirk Eater.
Oh.
Yeah, yes, that
Okay,
appears to
sorry
be the
about that,
case. We did have some people from the Eastern Time Zone repairing the clock, and it appears to be set to the Eastern Time Zone. But that will be remedied very soon, hopefully.
That's awesome. Okay, we'll get that figured out before school starts in September for sure. We are completing and working on renovations at the Duluth News Tribune building, also figuring out what we're going to call it other than the Duluth News Tribune building here pretty soon, hopefully. We're working on Lowell exterior window construction projects. Oh, I'm sorry, that has been canceled and has not been rescheduled. We are working on the pool renovation at Lincoln Park. We are working on a building expansion for the transportation building, and then also some exterior dock wall repair. And we know that our building operations staff is going to be going in, getting summer maintenance done, and deep cleaning our buildings. So that is our facilities departmental report, our technology departmental report. Get this going here. We're going to see a drop in the number of accounts that we have as students come off of our Google accounts for the summer. They won't come back until the fall when they are reactivated. This is just my time to remind all of our parents to make sure to get that important paperwork back to the district so your students can get their computer and have access to their Google account. I have not done that yet, so that's a good reminder for myself. And we continue to work on several different projects with our technology department over the summer, upgrading and repairing our technology across the district. Lastly, our transportation report. Again, I just want to bring back to the wonderful presentation that Voyer Bus did in the committee of the whole meeting. You can look on that agenda and then also check out the meeting. It was a great presentation and partnership with Voyager Bus. I also want to send out thanks to Mr. Kaspedic, who's worked very hard this year keeping our transportation up and running. So far, we have 2 applicants for bus helpers, but we have no new applicants for drivers as of June 11th. So again, we encourage our community to apply for those non-certified positions. And Joe has been working with routers to ensure a smooth running office, and our mechanics are working hard to keep our buses repaired and maintained. That is our transportation report. So the recommended resolutions that we have coming to the meeting is B-6-24-4031, that's adoption of our FY25 budget. And I just want to take one moment here to remind our community where they can find more information about our budget. If you go to the June 13th COW meeting, you can see that presentation as Assistant Superintendent Bonds noted in that committee of the whole meeting, and that I also encourage you to watch the recording of the meeting. We started this work in April 2024, where individual board members met with the district administrative staff to look at 5-year analytics and our FY25 preliminary budget. April 25th, the board had a work session at Denfeld High School. May 7th, the district administrative staff brought to the committee of the whole meeting the first reading of our budget. June 11th, at our HR Business Services, we again reviewed the budget. June 13th, at the committee of the whole meeting, we had our second reading. This includes categorical aid breakdown and final basic formula aid. We will be adopting our budget tonight at our regular board meeting, and then Superintendent Megas laid out how we plan to move ahead to look at the fiscal year 25-26. Just a brief point of privilege as chair of the HR Business Services Committee. As we went through this budget, we worked hard to make sure that this budget is a reflection of our values, including supporting every student, advancing equity, and improving our systems. This year, we made a lot of improvements, including changing our middle school and our high school programming model, we did see increases in state aid. We saw increases from our local levy that are graciously was voted on by our community to question 1 to increase our budget for certain positions. We also saw an assigned fund balance transfer of $5 million from our assigned fund balance to come over to our general budget to help offset some of the deficit this year. So we've been working long and hard on this budget, and it is a budget that I believe we can be very, very proud of. Other recommended resolutions we're bringing forward is the acceptance of donations to the Duluth Public Schools, the resolution for membership in the Minnesota State High School League for Denfeld High School, resolution for membership in the Minnesota State High School League for East. On the consent agenda, we will include an HR staffing report, a job description for the Safe Routes to School coordinator, and I just want to make note for our community that this Safe Routes to School coordinator is a grant-funded position that is coming to the district. We also have our financial report, our fundraisers. We have several bids, RFP, and quotes. We have some contract change orders and leases, including our Voyager bus contract. And then we also have some miscellaneous information items that were given that didn't require any forward action. And that concludes the HR Business Services Committee report for the month of June.
Excellent, thank you, Member Derek Eater. And I know you're out in the prairies of North Dakota, but I've been looking out the window and we have a lot of wind happening up here on the hill in northern Minnesota. So we are going to keep moving the meeting so we all can get safely home. But thank you again, excellent update, and I appreciate you going over the calendar of the budget process that the board's been involved with. Any other comments or questions on the HR Business Services Committee report?
Just one quick comment about the high school league. There was a video that was shared with board members, and hopefully you had a chance to watch that prior to your vote, as was requested by the high school league, and if not, perhaps you can view it afterwards. And secondly, there are flood warnings right now and tornado watch, so we want to keep an eye on that as well.
I was just going to really quickly say thank you to Executive Director of Finance Zunich and our supervisor of our child nutrition program, Sheila Oak, for getting back to Member Banks and I about the questions that we had in the HR Business Services meeting. Thank you.
Excellent. And then Member Banks, just because you're on that committee, any additional comments or questions? Or okay, great. I just wanted to give you that opportunity. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Member Derek Eater. Excellent report. Okay, the next committee report is the Policy Committee, which met just last Thursday, June 13th. And so I will quickly go through this, but Member Michaelsell and Member Williams, if you have anything to add, if I forget, please don't hesitate. So the first policy for first reading is 507.5. It's school resource officers. We're deleting 1155 police department relationship and 2035 police school liaison officers. And again, this is new legislation. We're really, as a district, are really kind of ahead of our game because of all the work we've been doing over the last few years with our school resource officers as well. But this is a new policy that the state is requiring. And the purpose of this policy is to establish the contractual duties and training requirements of a school resource officer. So this is the first reading. We will have the second reading in August. And then the next policy for second reading is policy 902, use of school district facilities and equipment. We're deleting 1130, 1130.1R, 1130.2R, 1130.3R, and 1130.4R. And the purpose of this policy is to provide guidelines for community use of school facilities and equipment. The The next policy is policy 205. Which is open meeting and closed meetings. Little bit longer purpose, so I'm just going to read the B, but the school board embraces accountability and transparency in the conduct of its business in the belief that openness produces better programs, more efficient administration of programs, and an organization more responsive to public interest and less susceptible to private interest. The school board shall conduct its business under presumption of openness. At the same time, the school board recognizes and respects the privacy rights of individuals as provided by law. The school board also recognizes that there are certain exceptions to the Minnesota open meeting law as recognized in state statute where it has been determined that in limited circumstances, the public interest is best served by closing a meeting of the school board. So that is 205. The next one is 207, public hearings. The purpose of this is the school board recognizes the importance of obtaining a public input on matters properly before the school board doing a public hearing. The purpose of this policy is to establish procedures to efficiently receive public input. And then number 211 for second reading is criminal or civil action against school district, school board member, employee, or student. And the purpose of this policy is to provide guidance about the school district's position, rights, and responsibilities when a civil or criminal action is pending against the school district or a school board member, school district employee, or student. And then policies for review, and again, usually it's just minor changes or legislative changes. So policy 204, school board meeting minutes. We took out bylaws, so it's minutes, and the purpose of this policy is to establish procedures related to the maintenance of the records of the school board and the publication of its official proceedings. And then the last policy for review is 507, corporal punishment and prone restraint. A lot of language changes within this law by states, mandated by state statute. The purpose of this policy is to describe limitations on the use of corporal punishment and prone restraint upon a student. Then we also, for informational, reviewed again the Facilities Youth Guide 902R. We only have 2 more policies in our 200 series that we will be bringing forth in August or September. And all of these will be on the consent agenda to be voted on. Other board members that are on this committee, did you have any other comments? I will say we've really been good about asking questions at the first reading, and then we've gone to either Patty or to Terry Morrow from NSBA to get clarification on certain policies as well. So really appreciated that, as well as Patty making sure we're getting policies in here right away that had legislative changes the end of May. So, Member Michaelsell?
I just wanted to clarify for everyone in the room and for our community that policy 507.5 regarding our school resource officers and policy 507 regarding corporal punishment and prone restraint, that's language that's basically lifted directly from state statute. So those aren't necessarily Duluth Public School policy like generated. Those are Minnesota state generated policies that we have to adopt in order to be compliant with the law. And then also just to clarify, so for our policies for approval, our second reading and our policies for review and our regulations, but that first reading policy will bring back one more time. Is that correct?
The 507.5? Yes.
Okay.
It's for first reading, so it will come back for second reading at our August meeting.
Perfect. Great.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, so that is our policy committee report, and thank you all for the background work that everyone does to make these policies happen. So the next item is general board committee updates. And again, for the public, many of our board members serve on many community committees or district committees. And so this is just an opportunity to share any updates from events or activities that you've been a part of with that committee work. And we just greatly appreciate all the different ways our board members are out in the community and out in our district. So any committee reports? Okay. Member Sadowski?
Unfortunately, the HR business meeting that we had kind of overlapped with Head Start this last week. I think it was just last week. Because of graduation, I think our meetings kind of got shifted. I think that was the reason. But Member Banks and I were actually able to, after the HR Business Services meeting, pop down to the APEC meeting, which was at ACO. And that was really great. Good community, good food, and good discussion, particularly around some of the grants that they've received, their budget, and that sort of thing. So,
Any other updates?
I just
Member
have-
Williams?
Sorry, I just have a question about APEC. Is it new that they are meeting at ACO?
I think that, well, I know they've had a meeting here, and then they had a meeting at ACO. And so, to be honest, I'm not sure. Maybe Superintendent Magus knows if they've been switching their meetings around. I don't know.
I'm not sure. I know that the EAC committee has often tried to go to various sites to make sure that we're being more open with the community and to provide different context and also to meet people on their ground rather than expecting people to come to us. So it might be something similar that ACO is looking at mirroring, but I'm not aware of why they met at ACO. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks for clarifying that. I did not have any committee I did have a committee meeting of the Duluth Public Endowment Fund, but it was where we did kind of board development work. But I did have the opportunity, and I just wanted to highlight it because it wasn't said yet. Yesterday was our retiree train ride that our Duluth PTSA Council does in conjunction with, in partnership with St. Louis County Train Museum. Superintendent Magus was there to greet them, as well as Adele Wellens did a picture, and I did have the opportunity to go on the train as I've done the last few years, and it's always a fun event to find out what these retirees are going to do with their time, and it just happened to be a lot of our retirees' spouses had retired or partners in the last few years, so to find out what they've been doing with their time as well. So you'll see some information on Facebook about that, but that was a fun event. I meant to mention this earlier, but I did want to just thank all of the board members for making the time to attend so many of the, what I call graduation week, graduations with the time that you had. It was just great having not only all of you as school board members, but also the number of staff and administrators that were at those graduations as well. So I just wanted to acknowledge that. The next item on our agenda is our consent agenda. And so we've highlighted in our reports what items will be on the consent agenda. And so we need a motion to approve our consent agenda. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
So moved by Member Banks and seconded by?
Second.
Seconded by Member Williams. Okay, any discussion? Okay, all in favor, and again, we'll need to do a roll call vote. I'm remembering, but I told her to remind me if I forget, so, okay, thank you, Clerk Sadowski.
Member Banks.
Yes.
Member Dirk Eater.
Yes.
Member Loeffler-Kemp.
Yes.
Member Lofall.
Yes.
Member Mikesell.
Yes.
I vote yes. And Member Williams?
Yes.
Okay, passes 7-0.
Great, thank you. A lot under that consent agenda, a lot of good stuff. Okay, so we're at the last part, resolutions our committee reports, and I've already assigned, but I'll say your name so you're prepared. So the first resolution is an adoption of our budget, and Clerk Sadowski is going to read that resolution. And we will have to vote on each of these.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep, I move Resolution B-6-24-4031, a resolution for the adoption of the fiscal year 2025 budget. It's really short, so I will read it all because it's one sentence, but we're just doing a summary now. But be it resolved by the School Board of School District Number 709, St. Louis County, State of Minnesota, that the fiscal year 2025 budget as presented to the school board be adopted. And I would just like to add, approving the budget and reviewing the budget is one of our key roles as a school board. And so I just want to thank all my colleagues on the school board for your hard work, attending the one-on-one meetings, asking Simone good questions. Thank you, Director Simone Zunich, for all of your work on the budget, and Superintendent Magus too. I would echo what Member Eater said earlier about, I would agree that I feel this budget is a reflection of our values and that we're really trying our hardest to support every student, advance equity, and improve systems. And I would also say that I feel like we've been very strategic with this fiscal planning. I know it's been said before, but we know a lot of other districts in our area and around the state have had to do what we call just drastic cuts, a cliff, if you will. And because of some of the thoughtful ways that Simone and her team have structured the budget, we've been able to scaffold down a little bit before we have to do even more drastic cuts. So
Thank
I
you.
move that
So
one.
Member Sadowski did the first motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Member Michaelsell. And then any further discussion or comments? Thank you for your comments, Amber. Any further comments? I will just again add what I shared last week, just that it's from being on the board a long time and being through many budget processes, I just greatly appreciated all the opportunities we had again, and I know I feel very ready to vote on this, and so just thank you for all the ways you provided outreach. So we do need to do a roll call vote.
Perfect. Member Williams?
Yes.
Member Banks?
Yes.
Member Durek Eater?
Yes.
Member Loeffler Kemp?
Yes.
Member Lofeld?
Yes.
Member Mikesell?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Motion passes 7-0.
Okay, great. Our next resolution is acceptance of donations to Duluth Public Schools, and Member Banks is going to read that one. And again, you can just do the first whereases and then highlight a few things if you'd like there.
Thank you. I'm very happy to move Resolution B-6-24-4032. There's approximately 26 donations to ISD 709, whereas Minnesota Statute 465.03 requires a school district to accept donations by resolution expressed in the terms provided by the donor in full, and whereas acceptance of the donations in accordance with the donor's terms is in the best interest of the Duluth Public Schools. Now therefore be it resolved that the Duluth Public Schools does accept the below described donations from said organizations in accordance with the terms set forth herein. Be it further resolved that the Duluth Public Schools wishes to extend its grateful appreciation to these various individuals and organizations, and I want to mention some of them if I may. Kay Biga from the Spot and Law Office and the Smith Foundation in the amount of $10,000 for Denfeld High School. That's $2,000 for each speech, band, orchestra, theater, and robotics. That's just one example. Another at the District Service Center, Caroline Marks, $200 for Unity in the Community. And then there was an anonymous donation to East High School in the amount of $9,000 for purchasing Guardian caps for the football program. So that's just a few examples of donations that have come in for the district.
Excellent, thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Member Sadowski. Any further discussion? Okay, we'll do a roll call vote.
Perfect. Member Lofall?
Don't go out of order when we're virtual. Yes.
All right, thank you. Member Mikesell?
Yes.
I vote yes. Member Williams?
Yes.
Member Banks?
Yes.
Member Dirk Eater?
Yes.
And Member Lafleur Kemp?
Yes.
Passes 7-0.
Thank you. So our next two resolutions deal with State High School League. We do this every year, and as Superintendent Magus said, there is a video that hopefully you've viewed or you will view about the high school league. So Member Michael, if you would do the first resolution for Denfeld High School.
Sure. I move Resolution B-6-24-4033, the resolution for membership in the Minnesota State High School League for 24-25. Resolved that the governing board or entity of Duluth Denfeld High School, located in the state of Minnesota, delegates the control, supervision, and regulation of interscholastic activities and athletics to the Minnesota State High School League, and so hereby certifies the State Commissioner of Education as provided for by Minnesota statutes. Further resolved that the school listed in this and is authorized by this, the governing board of said school district or school, to renew its membership to the Minnesota State High School League and to participate in the approved interscholastic activities and athletics sponsored by said league and its various subdivisions. Further resolved that this governing board or entity hereby adopts the Constitution, bylaws, policies, rules, and regulations of said league, and all amendments thereto as are published in the latest edition of the league's official handbook, on file at the office of the school district or school, or as appears on the league's website as the minimum standards governing participation in said league sponsors activities and athletics. Further, the administration and responsibility for determining student eligibility and for the supervision of such activities and athletics are assigned to the official representatives identified by this governing board or entity.
Okay, great. Thank you, Member Michael. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Member Williams. Any further discussion on this? Okay, then, no? Yes, okay. Member Lofold?
So I know, are we going to be reading the East resolution? That's just the same exact thing, right?
I was going to suggest to Member Williams that she does not need to read all of it. She can just highlight the first resolve. So, yep.
That's great. So this is just a general comment for both of those resolutions. Is I sat on the Minnesota State High School League Board of Directors from 2008 to 2012. It was really an honor, and I loved the idea of watching the video that they sent to us, because Member Sandholm was our MSHSL rep for his time, and Member Eater, you're our rep right now and have been maybe, okay. So, if you look at that resolution, there's just a lot of, fine detail in there about what the league expects school board reps that we appoint to kind of fill a need for. So I just wondered if there's questions or something further school board discussion should have on the Minnesota State High School League's desire on the part of whoever we appoint on a yearly basis to this representative of the Minnesota State High School League to just, report back to us, or do they meet with our ADs on a regular basis? I know Mr. Sandholm used to somewhat do that, but I don't know if it was because of the details in this resolution or just because he loved sports and he loved all of our Duluth Public Schools activities and just saw that as something that interests him as a board member. But that's just a comment, you know, as far as, I think the league is moving towards having a stronger partnership with all school board members. There is a school board rep that sits on our Section 7AA committee, and our rotation for the Duluth school board member to be appointed there doesn't happen for a while yet, like 8 more years before a member of Duluth's school board will fill the slot on the Section 7AA committee and represent all school board members. But that being said too, whoever is the school board rep for Section 7AA right now should be reaching out. Because when they vote on things brought before the committees, they're expecting the school board rep on that committee to vote in a way that reflects what school board members might want to see. I'll just throw out an example, would be like boys volleyball has been growing in its popularity, and it is now an official Minnesota State High School League. And so will that school board rep on Section 7AA be asked to, you know, vote in support of that? But if they haven't reached out to other school board members to see the financial ramifications of at least our school adding another one, then that leaves our school board rep kind of voiceless. So just an example of how the school board chair appoints that Minnesota State High School League rep every year on our first meeting of the year. So just a way to think about that committee in these resolutions.
Thank you, Chair Loeffel, and certainly you have a lot of expertise on the Minnesota State High School League. So maybe that's a discussion, whether it's at our August retreat, but it's a further discussion because there's been many other issues that I know I've followed over the years that I've wanted to express to, and I did to whoever was our school board member. But I think it would be a good discussion.
And I support this resolution fully. You know, I'm not challenging at all the resolution. In fact, I'm supporting it even stronger, that, you know, to have a voice with that as well.
Thank you. Any other further comments?
Yeah, I do have a quick question. Just for informational purposes, what is the cost of the membership to the district?
Do you know the cost of the membership to the Minnesota State High School League? Member Banks is asking that question. Okay, that would be great. And then I would just also encourage, just because, again, at some of our School Board Association conferences, there's been workshops with the State High School League, and I've always found those really interesting, but they also just recently updated their website, so go on that as well. It was very, you know, what do we gain from being a part of it? And then maybe we can get the activities directors at both our schools to come in the next few months or so and give an update as well. So while you're looking on that, will that determine if you want to vote on this? Do you want us to wait?
No, I'm just,
Thank you. No, good question.
Just curiosity, that's all.
Yeah. Curiosity is good on a school board. Okay, so Clerk Sadowski, if you could do the roll call vote for the Denfeld membership.
Sure. Member Loeffler Kemp?
Yes.
Member Lofeld?
Yes.
Member Mikesell?
Yes.
I vote yes. Member Williams?
Yes.
Member Banks? And Member Jarek Eater?
Yes.
Perfect, passes 7-0.
Thank you. And then Member Williams is going to read the next resolution for East, and again, you just do the resolve and the number. Thank you.
Yep, so I move for Resolution B-6-24-4034, which is almost word for word what Member Mike Sell just read. So I will not read the whole thing, but be it resolved that the governing board or entity of Duluth East High School, located in the state of Minnesota, delegates the control, supervision, and regulation of interscholastic activities and athletics referred to in Minnesota statutes, Section 128C.01 to the Minnesota State High School League, and so hereby certifies to the State Commissioner of Education as provided for by Minnesota statutes.
Thank you. Do I have a second? I think I'll second it. Okay, thank you. Okay, any further discussion? Okay. And then do a roll call vote. Thank you.
Member Banks?
Yes.
Derek Eater?
Yes.
Fleur-Kemp?
Yes.
Member Lowfall?
Yes.
Member Mikesell?
Yes.
I vote yes. Member Williams?
Yes.
Passes 7-0.
Okay, great. Now we have some special resolutions, and our first one is HR 06244045. It was numbered wrong, but it's non-renewal of staff, and Member Banks is going to read it and just do the whereas.
Yes.
You are provided with names, but we will just be doing the whereas for the
Of course, thank you.
vote.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is HR-6-24-4045 regarding the termination of certified probationary non-renewal staff. Whereas during the first 3 years of consecutive employment, all teachers in the public schools in cities of the first class are deemed to be in a probational period of employment, during which period the school board may renew or not renew any teacher's annual contract as the school board shall see fit. The term teacher includes every person regularly employed as a principal or to give instruction in a classroom or to superintend or supervise classroom instruction or as a placement teacher and visiting teacher. Now therefore be it resolved by the School Board of Independent School District Number 709, St. Louis County, Minnesota, as follows. The employment contracts of the following probationary teachers shall not be renewed, and their employment shall terminate at the end of the school day on June 7, 2024, unless another date is indicated below, in which case the employment of the particular teacher shall terminate on that date. Be it further resolved, the clerk of the school board shall notify such teachers in writing before July 1st, 2024, of the termination of their employment.
Thank you. So I need a second for that one.
Second.
Seconded by Clerk Sadowski. Is there any questions or comments? Member Michael?
Can someone clarify or explain, are these something that typically happens every year? Are these part of our reallocation of funds? Just how that all works and how those decisions were made?
These are things that happen every year, and there's a difference. Not all of them are in the same situation. Sometimes we have someone, for an example, that has an out-of-field license that expires at the end of the school year, and they can't renew it till July 1, and so they get non-renewed. So these are teachers that have been displaced earlier in the year. They've had opportunity to apply for other positions along the way, but the deadline for the statute is that we need to non-renew them before July 1, or they'll have a continuing contract, and we may or may not have a position for them. So there are different scenarios. If it was for performance, there's another process that we go through for that. So these are really just more about licensure, not having the proper licensure, or a licensure expiring, or that they haven't secured a position as they've gone through the process.
Okay. Member, did you have any follow-up question there? Kind of looked like you did there.
Of these list of current employees that will be terminated, do you know how many of them have found another home in another position here in our district?
None of these have found another position. We had, I believe, a total of 45 displaced employees based on various things this year, and these are those that have not found a position.
Member Banks?
So thank you very much. And so I am always asking, when I see things like this, is there anything that can be done? Or is this an absolute unequivocal done deal? I know that might seem,
They are still able, those that don't have the licensure, for an example, once the state renews their license or gives them their next level of license, they can still apply for positions and still can be hired back. It's just that we can't employ them now because there hasn't been positions that they're qualified for, but they can still be a viable applicant for other positions that we may open up after their licensure gets approved on July 1 or thereafter.
Great. Thank you for that clarification. Any other questions?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I
I'm
can't see your
sorry.
light there. Okay, Member Williams?
I guess confirmation of what we discussed. So if there were issues as far as performance, we would do a similar resolution separately for those. Is that the way that this works? This is just about licensure
This is
purely, and
about
then-
licensure, this is about non-performance issues. So there's
Okay.
licensure components. We have different types of postings, 24-hour posts, that they're temporary positions. And so there's a handful of different reasons they might be on this list, but if it was a performance, there would be a different process. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Questions? Any other questions? Okay, so Member Banks has made the motion, Member Sadowski has seconded it, and we'll do a roll call vote. Thank you.
Member Williams? Yes. Member Banks?
this is a hard, this is a hard one for me, personally. I'm going to have to say no.
Okay. Member Derek Eater?
Yes.
Member Loeffler Kemp?
Yes.
Member Lofeld?
Yes?
Member Mikesell?
Yes.
And I vote yes, so passes 6-1.
Thank you. And I just wrote a note to myself, Member Banks and everybody else, that, it might be helpful with some of these issues that fall under HR to either do some one-on-ones or something so we can better understand the state statutes that we're required to follow under hirings and just any HR-related items. So I think that might be helpful for all of us, of course.
I agree, and I had just leaned over to mention that we would be very glad to offer one-on-ones with anybody that would like more information on this, because I think it's complex, and we apologize for bringing it forward without as much context as might have been helpful to the board.
But it is required by state statute, and that's,
Can I say something further? So I voted no, not because I disagree or this, whatever. I just, when it comes to people being terminated and losing their jobs, the economy is very difficult. Even in 2024, people are struggling, and so to me, I'm hoping there's other ways to do things without people losing their jobs. Yes, I understand the licensure concern, all that's important, but it seems like something else should be done. That's just my opinion.
Thank you. I see Member Derek Eater would like to say something. Go ahead. Your mic's not on.
Sorry about that. Thank you, Member Banks, for your thoughtful conversation and consideration when we have these very difficult resolutions come forward. I would just offer some additional context is that we know as we've gone through this year, when we looked at different contracts that we've ratified, that at the end of ratifying some of these contracts that there's give and take. We know that in terms of what our budget looks like, education is a very people-heavy it's a very people-heavy endeavor. We need a lot of people to lift up and educate and support our students. So when we have to make meaningful reductions in budgets and budget reallocation, what it really comes down to is that 75 to 80% of our budget that is having to do with people and their lives and their careers that's where we have to look at to make some of these reallocations and reductions. So I appreciate and hold close your thoughtfulness about bringing to light for all of us to think about that these are people when we go through these motions and we ratify and we vote yes on theirs at the end of this, that there's some very talented and wonderful staff that has contributed greatly to our students and in our district that we have to let go if it doesn't have to do with licensure, but when we think about budget reduction and reallocation. So I appreciate it and thank you for that reminder as we move forward in doing this very difficult work that we have to do.
Thank you. Any other comments? We've already voted on it. So we will move on to the next resolution, which I will do. It's, I move HR 624-4046. This is a resolution with the Education Director Association Collective Bargaining Agreement resolved by School Board ISD 709, St. Louis County. This agreement is between ISD 709 and the Education Directors Association, a summary which you have in your hands, and it is to be approved and adopted for the periods of July 1st, 2023 to June 30th, 2025, inclusive in that the chairperson and clerk of the school board be hereby authorized to execute this agreement on behalf of the school district. And the list of the titles of who falls under that, of the 6 folks, are in the agreement. So you maybe saw that when you were reading through it. So I move HR 624-4046. Do I have a second?
Second.
I'll second it. Lowfeld.
Okay, seconded by Chair Lofold. Any further discussion on this contract? Okay, can we do a roll call vote?
Sure. Member Mike Sell?
Yes.
I vote yes. Member Williams?
Yes.
Member Banks?
Yes.
Member Dirk Eater?
Yes.
Member Loeffler Kemp?
Yes.
And Member Lowfall?
Yes.
This passes, and just a thank you to Teresa Severance for all the work in our HR department. We're getting through all of these contracts, and I know you've been setting up meetings and meeting and working to get through all of these in short order, and thank you for all your work around that. Thank you. The last one then is resolution related to our NSBA Summer Leadership Seminar and attendance. And Member Michael, would you read that one?
Yeah, I move Resolution SP-6-24-4047, Resolution School Board Member Attendance at the 2024 MSBA Summer Leadership Seminar. Resolved that the Independent School District 709, St. Louis County, Minnesota, pay costs incurs as per district policy for school board members to attend the 2024 MSBA Summer Leadership Seminar.
Okay, so I move, Member Michael moved it. Do we have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Member Williams. Any discussion? I would just really recommend board members. It's always a good training, a lot of good information, a lot of good networking event. Any other discussion, comments? Okay, can we do a roll call vote on it?
Sure. Member Banks?
No.
Member Dirk Eater?
Yes.
Member Loeffler Kemp?
Yes.
Member Lofold?
Yes.
Member Mikesell?
Yes.
I vote yes. And Member Williams?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-1.
Okay, great, thank you. So we are done with all of the resolutions. Are there any other comments or questions? Superintendent Magus?
Yes, Executive Director Zunich has an answer to Member Banks' previous question.
Okay, great.
Thanks for letting me
Yeah,
look
thank
it
you.
up. I did find it, it was in my head. So in 2022, we paid a little over $8,000 for each high school. It's an annual membership fee, and it also depends on how many students we have in the district. Last year, the bill was $2,500. The high school league offset the fee by a little over $4,360. So I don't have next year's invoice in front of me, but that is what we paid the last 2 years. It's generally $8,000 a year for each high school. You're welcome.
Great. Member Lofold, do you have a comment?
Well, I'm not an expert in that area of the fees for the Minnesota State High School League, but when I've worked with being a coach, each activity that the high schools have is a certain set fee. So it might be, Executive Director Zunich, that it's been up to 8,000, but it also depends on, so the membership or the fee that the league charges for football is more than what they charge for a speech program. And there is more, so every activity has a certain membership fee. And some years, we might not have to pay that fee. There are years when Denfeld does not participate in the One Act Festival, which is a Minnesota State High School League activity that charges a fee. So that would be why some years it could be high and some years it could be, a different, because it goes by each activity and what the league charges for that activity to be part of our budget. It's not a flat fee every year.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we are at the end. Before we adjourn, I just want to remind people again, go to our website, go to our Facebook page, lots of updates for the summer and things happening. And also just hope everyone drives safely on your way home tonight and gets home safely. So do I have a motion to adjourn?